Welcome to Is Your Way in Your Way podcast. And I'm your host. My name is Cassandra Crawley Mayo. And for my listeners who know what this podcast is all about, I'd like to share what it's all about with those, my first time listeners. It's actually about people who are ready to move forward in their lives, overcome obstacles, mitigate those self-imposed barriers and even those external barriers that's preventing you from living your best life. And we talk about topics related to business and personal development and self-improvement. And so this particular podcast is titled Unleashing Your Inner Potential. Unleashing your inner potential. So we're going to explore untapped potential that lies within each of us. We all have it. It's there. We're going to take a deep dive to understand what your strengths are, unique strengths, your talents and abilities, and just talk about some practical strategies to tap into them for your personal and professional growth. So, through these anecdotes that are going to be shared and some actionable advice, you're going to gain some insight on how to identify those strengths that you can leverage them effectively and break through those self imposed barriers that may be holding you back. So, the first topic that I want to talk about is the power of self discovery. And in order to have self discovery, you need to have a self reflection, introspection, exploration. So, my question to you is to think about that introspection. Think about, do some self reflecting. And what are your unique qualities? What are you good at? What makes you unique? What comes effortless? What brings you joy, excites you, ignites you? What is that? Just think about some of those things. If you are driving, you can think about them. If you are just sitting down listening, just think about it. And you may want to jot them down. And this is not about being vain. It's about just being your own authentic self and what in your heart of hearts believe that you're unique, that would things that you do just come effortless and it just brings you so much joy. What are some of those things? I'll just kind of tell you a couple of mine. One of them is empowering women. That's something that I love to do. And the reason that I do that, I feel like I'm qualified because the barriers that were in my way, those self-imposed barriers, they were in my way. And who better able to kind of talk to you about that because I was able to push them aside so that I could do my tap into my inner potential and do what I'm doing now. Also, let's talk about some um, things that you've accomplished. Let's go back to the first of the year and just think of some things you may have accomplished that you have, that just write them down. Like maybe did you get a promotion? Did you graduate? Did you pass a test? Did you get a good review? Did somebody have you to come and maybe speak for them or do a workshop for them? Or were you onboarding someone, training someone? What are your accomplishments? Think of those things because I know you've had them. If you're still here, you've had some, you know. So just think about those. Write down 30. I mean, just write them down. What I don't know, did you have a grandchild? That may not have been your accomplishment. It could have been your child's accomplishment, perhaps, if that's if you want to use that as their perspective. However, but just having a grandchild, a lot of people would love to have grandchildren and they don't. So that could be something. That's an asset to your family. Now, let's talk about transformative impact of self-discovery. What's something like if you discovered something, were you transformed by in introspect, what you've discovered? For example, for me, I remember when I went back to school to get my master's, and I made a decision that I did not want to get my master's after undergrad. I wanted to, well, to be honest with you, I didn't even think about going to get a master's. As a matter of fact, I just started working, and then it came to me that maybe I should increase or get further education. And this was my thought, and nobody suggested it to me. But when I did go and get my master's, not only was I able to apply my learnings to my experience, but man, was I transformed. It was something about me finishing, getting a master's degree in human resources, organizational development. I was like a kid in a candy shop. I was just so excited because it boosted my confidence. I mean, I just remember how that just transformed me, because it was like, wow, I'm understanding this. It had gotten to a point sometimes where I thought I could even teach the class, and the reason I thought that because of the experience that I had. So that to me was like, wow. And what I learned also, I learned and I love to learn. That's something else that was transformative for me. So it's like, you could have gotten a promotion, could be something that impacted your self discovery, just a whole lot of things. Or you've discovered that in 10 more years, I could retire. Did that transform your thinking? Probably, absolutely. So, you need to get yourself together to be ready to do that when the time comes. Now, let me talk about another component to unleashing your inner potential. Now, that one was just self discovery, understanding, what you're good at. Remember, it's not being vain, it's just telling the truth, telling who you are. The other one is embracing your authentic self. Um, it is unbelievable when you are authentic. It just, oh man, it just opens up the doors. You just feel so good because you are being the person that you were created to be. So, being your authenticity, you need to be clear on what your values are. What passions do you have? What really, really matters to you? This way you can get to know yourself when you understand what your values are. Like, for example, integrity could be your value. Justice could be a value. You know, um, Another value of mine is I don't believe young adults that are capable and able to work should be at home with their parents and not working. That's a value I have. That bothers me, um, because I think if you're able to, you should get out there and you should do it because there's plenty of opportunities out there. There are also values of honesty. It could be a value that you have. So once you're clear on what it is, then you can embrace who you truly are. And it's okay. Respect is a value of mine. If I don't get respect, that just irks me. That just bothers me. If a person tells me they're going to do something, they don't do it, that bothers me because they're not a person of their word. That's the way that I feel. And that's just a value of mine. And I'm not going to make an excuse about what my values are. It just helps me get to know who I am. Now, let's talk about the external influences. I'm talking about like at work, and there are different societal expectations and cultural norms. For example, first of all, let me talk about employment. People usually get a performance review. Okay, the performance review could be 6 months, it could be a year, but the societal expectations on some organizations that I'm fully aware of is they don't let a person know how they're doing until the evaluation. And that's just to me, that's an expectation I have, but for the society or the organization, that may not be what they do. Another one is bottom line. I don't care so much for the folks. We need to make bottom line. That could be a societal expectation. Um, also, inequality. There's no secret that men in many instances make more money than women doing the same type of job. I know that because I've experienced that. So there are opportunities. You want to make sure that your values, the societal values, do they align with your values? There could be incident or working in an organization or working with people, but yet they don't demonstrate the values that you have. So therefore, they don't align with you. So that's an organization that you don't want to be a part of. They're also, um, they are, I want to kind of talk about, you know, let me give you an example, another example. This is funny to me. You know, um, you have to, I'm talking about this a journey to self acceptance and self expression. And I remember being in corporate, and you would go to dinner and you go to dinner. And first of all, they didn't have, many of them didn't have dinner until 7 p.m. or 7:30. And for me, that was late. I wanted to eat, and I didn't want to have to be able to eat after 8 p.m. um, and I got to a point where I would just share that. I don't eat that late. But a lot of times we do what they do just to get along. Another thing, I will use a church for an example. I've been going to a church and it doesn't serve me. It doesn't feed me. So why go to something that I grew because I grew up there? Does that mean that I have to continue to go there? No. So I'm saying that to say I can have self acceptance of who I am, what I am, and express my feelings. And that's just that frees us to be our authentic self if we are real with ourselves, right? Um, also, I want to talk about leveraging your strengths. Okay, so we talked about embracing your authentic self. Okay, understanding who you are, what values are important to you. Also, the power of self discovery. We talked about that. What's unique about you? Now, let's talk about your strengths. You can utilize your strengths to achieve personal and professional success. Um, like, think of some things that you are strong in. Um, realize like there's some examples of individuals who have harnessed their strengths to achieve remarkable results. I want to talk about Kobe Bryant, the basketball player, who has, I mean, he practiced. He practiced. He was a great basketball player. And not only him, there's just so many examples of people who have harnessed their strengths to receive remarkable results. They, it's kind of like when you volunteer for services, for the homeless or be an advocate for something. If those are your strengths, you leverage them. You work in capacities where your strengths could be harnessed. Okay, so you want to utilize your strengths to achieve your personal. When I said, what are you good at? Like, what have you accomplished? Maybe you're good at technology. Maybe you're a techie person. I'm not a techie person. However, I know people that are, and I could learn from them. But recognize your strengths when you went through that exercise and you figured out what your accomplishments were. You had to have some type of strength to and able to attain that accomplishment. So just remember, harness your strengths to achieve results. So, like not too long ago, I saw this little boy just sitting down. He was actually in church and he was drawing, and man, he could draw. It was unbelievable. And I just thought about it. I'm like, he's a young little boy. I don't think he was, I don't know, 10 years old or something. And I'm like, wow, he is really, really good. And I'm just hoping that as he continues to mature and grow, that he will still have that as a, I would think it was a passion of his. He was so good at it. Now, another way to unleash our inner potential is breaking through self-imposed barriers. And I talk about that a lot in my and throughout different podcasts. And I can say that because I've had self-imposed barriers. In the book that I wrote, Is Your Way in Your Way? Sure, my way was in my way because I wore a mask, a figurative mask. I was not able to be who I was. I had barriers like esteem issues, scars and resentments. And actually, I'm seeing the scars and resentments in my life as being a strength, something positive now. Excuse me. So, overcoming limiting beliefs like I don't have the confidence. You're doubting yourself. We need to reframe our thinking and say, I can do this. I will do this. I've done this. I can accomplish whatever I want to accomplish. So we need to just break through those barriers. That's another way to, and that's mostly they're self-imposed. They're imposter syndrome, self-sabotage, procrastination, and all of those things. Another thing is once we break through those self-imposed barriers, it's kind of like when you say, I can't do this. Who told you you couldn't? Who told you you weren't smart enough? Who told you you would be nothing? Where did all of that come from? That's self imposed. You just want to rebuke that and move forward and reframe your thinking and use affirmations that you can do this and you will do this. Another thing is nurturing your growth mindset. You need to cultivate a mindset that embraces continuous growth. That's so important. You want to continue to grow, listen to different podcasts, listen to YouTube, their documentaries. You can go back to school, surround yourself with growth-minded support system. Keep learning. I mean, you want to keep learning. You can finish school and say, I'm done. Never done. We stop growing. We stop living. So you want to make sure that you surround yourself with growth. You also want to pay attention to your thoughts. Um, I know that, things and challenges and see your challenges as opportunities that it's just, I mean, the challenges could just keep you stuck. But I just want to kind of talk about a couple of people, use some anecdotes like Tina Turner. Rest her soul, Tina Turner was in an abusive relationship. And I'm certain many of you know her story. And my gosh, and she turned out to be a 12-time Grammy winner. And she was a legend. Do you hear me? A legend. But yet, that was an opportunity where she changed those challenges she had to an opportunity, and she became a legend of her own. Another person is Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, right? And Thomas Edison, he tried and tried. I mean, he wasn't successful initially. And what he may had this quote that said, I've not failed, just found 10,000 ways that will not work. So he didn't see any of his things as a failure. He just found out that all the time and effort and energy that he put in to create the light bulb, a lot of it didn't work. And that's the way he changed his mindset. He changed his perspective on it. Also, another nurturing growth mindset, when I embrace my continuous growth, I talked about when I was working, there was a senior vice president who approached me because some of my colleagues said that I was embarrassing in front of them with other clients. And because of that, my boss says, well, I think it'll be a great idea, and I'm going to give you this opportunity to go back to the industry that you were in, because I don't think this organization is a good fit for you. And when I heard that, of course, I was devastated, but I asked him, could I go home because I needed some time to think about it? And he said, yeah, but when I come in the morning to let him know, and he would do all he can to make sure that I get another opportunity back to where I came from in a different industry. But what happened is I came back that morning and shared with him that I didn't want to go back to another industry. And furthermore, they said that I was an embarrassment, but you weren't there. So I asked you to just give me another opportunity, and I will be able to show you that I am not an embarrassment. So I'm going to give this a go. I changed my mindset. I'm like, oh, I can do this. And you know what? I really was going to get them. I was like, okay, I get them. I'll get them because I know that I can do this job because they wouldn't have hired me. Changed my mindset. I wasn't going to be an imposter, right? Changed my mindset that I know that I can do this job. And I am so glad that I did because I grew from it. I learned so much from that particular organization that I'm able to do what I am doing today. Okay, so if I would have just bowed down and says, okay, I'm gonna go back, I wouldn't have grown. I wouldn't have learned anything else because my thing is if I'm in an organization, I know everything, then I need to go to a different organization. So I was ready to grow, to learn, and to serve in that organization. So so I'm hopeful. Now I'll go back and talk about tapping into your potential. Remember that self-discovery, introspection, explore. Okay, define what some of those your uniqueness. What is that? What are some things that just come effortless? Also, be authentic. Embrace your authentic self. Understand what your values are. Understand what your passions are. Also, leverage your strengths. You're good in a lot of stuff. Leverage your strength, whether it's computer technology, whether it's writing, whether it's tutoring. I don't know, but you have one, and determine what it is. Look at those accomplishments that you've accomplished that I asked you earlier to write down what you have accomplished within uh, from the first of the year to now, and you will find strengths in that. Also, I said, so you leverage those and also break through those self imposed barriers, reframe your thinking. You stop no longer self sabotage. You're not imposter syndrome. You're not an imposter. You can do what you're doing. So break through those barriers. Also, nurture a growth mindset. You want to create a mindset that's going to embrace continuous growth and learning. Like I said, I knew in that particular job that I was going to learn and I was going to grow from it. So I wasn't going to let that opportunity to go. And yet I said to myself, I'm going to prove to them that I could. And thank God I did a great, great job. So I'm going to wrap this podcast up, and I'm hopeful that you've gained some valuable insight and I provided you some tools. So get ready to embark on your journey of self-discovery and empowerment as you unleash the incredible, incredible potential within you. Remember, your way is not in your way. It's time to step into your greatness and live your best life. So if you believe that this podcast would bless somebody or be of encouragement or empower somebody, please share that with them, okay? And I'll remind you that my podcast Is Your Way in Your Way airs every Wednesday at 1 p.m. and it could be also found on all podcast platforms. Thanks so much for attending today. God bless you and bye for now.